Now let's hear from Dr. Matt Manweller, professor of political science at Central Washington University, as he shares about the hypocrisy of the left in the It's Just My Opinion segment. Matt?
Thanks, Skip. Seems like the buzzword this month is civility. After the shootings in Arizona, the media wanted to somehow tie the violence to conservatives, the Republican Party, the Tea Party, and Sarah Palin in particular. Of course, when the facts came out, it turns out that the shooter's violent tendencies started before Palin had ever been nominated, or the Tea Party even existed. But our liberal media never lets facts get in the way of biased reporting. The Democratic Party also saw an opening to attack conservatives in the aftermath of the violence. They tried to tie the violence to the hostile rhetoric coming from conservative organizations and candidates. Here's what I find ironic and hypocritical. Democrats only call for civility when they are in the majority and hold the presidency. You never hear Democrats calling to tone down the rhetoric when they are in the minority. Let me give you a few examples. When liberal Democrats were out protesting the Iraq war, the rhetoric was violent, hostile, and flat-out offensive. At some rallies, activists brought a guillotine machine so that they could have mock beheadings of President Bush. At other rallies, people wore T-shirts that depicted President Bush with a bullet hole in his forehead and blood trickling down his face. Where were the calls for civility then? Where was the outrage on the left about inappropriate rhetoric? And remember that website that Sarah Palin's that got so much attention? Well, here's a website from the Democratic Leadership Council from 2006. Notice the targets? I guess gun imagery is okay when Democrats use it, but not when Republicans use it, which is ironic, because Republicans actually know how to use guns. But even after President Obama took office, the violent rhetoric of the left never died down. In June of 2008, President Obama told a group of supporters that, quote, if Republicans bring a knife to the fight, we bring a gun. Can you imagine if Sarah Palin had said something like that? In September of 2010, liberal talk show host told Liz Cheney to, quote, shut up and go plan her father's funeral. Can you imagine the outrage if Rush Limbaugh had said something like that to Joe Biden's kids? In October of 2009, mainstream media commentator Chris Matthews fantasized about killing Rush Limbaugh while he was on the air. I have never heard much like that from the people at Fox News. Have you? The list goes on. In December of 2010, the well-read liberal magazine Salon published a letter to the editor, suggesting that Sarah Palin be electrocuted in the same manner that football player Michael Vick tortured his dogs. Very classy. As a reader of conservative magazines like the National Review, I can tell you that I've never encountered such text in their magazines. And it's not just media personalities on the left who talk like this. It is not just the fringe of the Democratic Party. In January of this year, a defeated Democratic incumbent named Paul Kanjorski was asked about the new Republican governor in Florida. Congressman Kanjorski responded, quote, instead of running for governor of Florida, they ought to have him and shoot him. Put him up against the wall and shoot him. I challenge any listener or critic to find a similar statement from a Republican. Joe Wilson got in trouble 2 years ago for yelling, you lie, at the State of the Union address. No one even bothered to mention it when Congressman Kanjorski called for the public execution of an elected governor. Well, the list goes on, and I could be here all day. My point is simple. Beware the Democrat that calls for civility. Instead of preaching about others, maybe they want to clean up their own act before trying to blame others for the violence in Arizona. I'm Matt Manweller, and that's just my opinion. See you next month.